up, everyone? How's your day going? How are you doing? The first time we're coming face to face like this, usually I'm this little rectangle in the top of the corner of the video. Usually I'm like up here or down here. I'm never the whole screen. But I want to try something different for the first time ever on my channel. I want to do some sports talk. Strange that a sports gaming person has never done sports talk on their channel. If you guys don't know about me, I went to college, graduated with a bachelor's in radio, television, film, and during my time there I did do some classes in broadcasting. So I do have some experience with mock broadcasting, to say the least. So I do know kind of the gist of broadcasting. But I also know I had to really bad hot takes. Frankly, it's just if you want to take bad hot takes, just look at um, Brandon Marshall when he talks on the media. But if you guys already know, we are talking about Philadelphia Eagles. I am going to talk about Philadelphia sports every time I talk about sports hot takes. So let's get this super long intro out of the way. This is not why you guys clicked on this video. The reason you clicked on this video is because of the title: An Eagles Fan's Dream 2021 Coaching Staff. And when I say coaching staff, I don't mean like D-line coach. I don't mean DB coach, who's going to replace Press Taylor, who's going to replace, the ins and outs of, the cooking staff. Not that. I mean, like, the main three guys. The head coach up here, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. Those are the two guys we are going to talk about, three guys we're going to talk about for an Eagles fan, what their dream coaching staff is going to look like. And I know we're going to start the show with a shocker. I know he's come out recently. Eagles apparently, after they canned Doug Pederson for apparently providing the worst coaching staff of all time, they said, hey, Doug Pederson comes in the office and goes, hey, Jeffrey Lurie, we're going to promote Press Taylor, that guy who is the reason Carson Wentz has regressed from an MVP to backup QB. Yeah, the guy you're paying $30 million to this year, next year, the year after that. Yeah, we're going to promote him to offensive coordinator. And Jeffrey Lurie said, get out, leave, never come back, you're fired. So this are also all are based on Doug Pederson being signed by, say, the Jets or the Lions. Both teams need head coaches, and I think Doug Pederson will draw a lot of interest to both those teams. Mainly the Jets, I believe, because the Jets they have a veteran quarterback. They have Sam Darnold. Call him better as much as you want. It's his fourth year in the league. Right now, maybe fifth year in the league. I think he needs a contract extension sooner rather than later. So they're going to get rid of Adam Gase. Doug Pederson fitting in there fits pretty well. He does have ties with Joe Douglas. So Joe Douglas, Doug Pederson, they work together in Philly. So I think if Doug Pederson wants to be the guy in charge, I think the way he's going to be is with the Jets. If the Jets let Adam Gase run that franchise to the ground for the past couple seasons, and I think Joe Douglas will be his partner in crime to more or less give him the coaching staff, give him the draft picks he wants to do. And I think that's my prediction where Dougie ends up is in New York playing for the Jets against Bill Belichick, Brian Flores, and Sean McDermott. McDermott's the head coach of the Bills still, right? I hope so. Really do hope so. This is going live on YouTube. One cut, not doing anything else. But I have wasted like 5 minutes of time recording and probably cut down a couple minutes. Let's get into who I want the coaching staff to be for the 2021 Philadelphia Eagles. Head coach, I want Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley, yes, head coach currently of Oklahoma. Now, Lincoln Riley has been linked with the Eagles recently. A couple hours ago, as well, an article saying that apparently after Lurie had fired Doug Pederson, Lincoln Riley had been getting phone calls from the Eagles showing interest in his services. Now, Lincoln Riley has spent 18 years in football. He's 37 years old. So he spent the last 18 years of his life part of football. So from 2017 to 2020, he's been the head coach of Oklahoma. He went 45-8, 12-2 in 3 seasons, and this past COVID-19 season, he went 9-2. Very good. 45-8 that comes out to. And I understand that, to go 45-8 here in college is really good. But it's not going to equate to 45-8 in the NFL. It's not how it works. Plain and simple, I don't expect him to come here and just go, boom, you're the new offensive guru, you're the new guy, you're the new you're the new offensive-minded genius who everyone slept on, and everyone missed out on you. I'm not expecting that right there. Sorry, I probably went down the audio a little bit, just because this is my first time, so I'm trying to figure out how to do all these settings. But Lincoln Riley, I want to be the head coach of your Philadelphia Eagles because of his sole background in offense. Offense, offense, offense. That's what, the Eagles need. Carson Wentz, offense. Jalen Reagor, Miles Sanders. These are offensive weapons you build around. Is Jalen going to be number one? No. But, he has backgrounds as a wide receiver coach. From 2003 2009, he was with Texas Tech. That's his alma mater. That's where he graduated from. 2003 2005, he was a student assistant. 2006, he comes in as a graduate assistant. 2007, so the year after he graduates as a graduate, he is the wide receiver coach. So wide receiver coach from 2007 2009. So 3 years he was wide receiver coach out of college. After that, a while, they say you're pretty good, and so does East Carolina. East Carolina comes in 2010. He is scooped up as to be the offensive coordinator and the QB coach. So you're telling me Lincoln Riley, in his mid-20s, goes from being a wide receiver coach to an offensive coordinator of East Carolina. Pretty good, especially for a young man. And in 2014, he gets another promotion. He becomes the assistant head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the QB coach in 2014. So a lot on a young man's plate, and he does pretty well. So well that in 2015, Oklahoma comes calling and says, Lincoln Riley, we see how well you're doing in Texas Tech. We saw how well you're doing in East Carolina. We want you to come coach here at Oklahoma. Oklahoma, from 2015 to 2016, he is the offensive coordinator and the QB coach. So I let him just ease into it for 2 years. Does pretty well. So well that in 2017 they make him the head coach to current, where he is the head coach of the of Oklahoma. So he is an offensive-minded coach playing the nuanced offense that all the young coaches playing, the Sean McVays, the head coach from Arizona, the head coach in Cleveland, all of these guys that come in, play this new style of offense, that the faster paced offense. And also one thing you want to do from your head coach is you want someone who develops talent. Yes, developing talent is the biggest key for a head coach. In Oklahoma, he had developed a ton of talent. He developed Jalen Hurts. He developed Baker Mayfield, CeeDee Lamb, Kyler Murray, to name a few. Those are all players taken in the first and second round. You absolutely love that right there. The Eagles, who have struggled developing talent. That is something they need to work on, is finding someone to develop talent. Doug Pederson has not developed talent well in his time in Philadelphia. I'm sorry for those who love Doug Pederson. I also like Doug Pederson, but he has not developed any talent here. He has not made Carson Wentz take that next step. Jalen Hurts comes in, and Jalen Hurts takes a hard regression. That first game he plays great. Not great, but I'll say he played well. And then from there, those last 3 games, he just plays poor and poor and poor. The fact he gets benched for Nate Sudfeld. That is not what you want in a quarterback. It's a lot easier to move on from Jalen Hurts than it is for Carson Wentz. I think they can recoup at least a 3rd-round pick for Jalen Hurts. Howie Roseman probably going to undersell Hurts. Definitely get at least a 3rd-round pick for him just to recoup into this year's draft. But Lincoln Riley, I want him to be our head coach here in Philadelphia, just because the ability to run an offense and the ability to develop premier talent. Out of CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, 2 of those players went 1st overall in the NFL draft. 1st overall. You know times Doug Pederson has had, all-pro talent, Pro Bowl talent, Carson Wentz, Jason Kelsey's a premier Pro Bowler. He finally got something out of Brandon Graham for the first time in his career. Brandon Graham's making the Pro Bowl. Now, speaking of Brandon Graham, there is a lot of money invested in this defense. We have Darius Slay Jr., Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, John Hargrave, and Malik Jackson. Not the best signing right there that Malik Jackson signing is, especially for a rotational defensive tackle. I don't understand why they brought him in, but they brought him in, and then they brought John Hargrave in the next season, and now they're in the worst cap situation, the second worst cap situation actually in the NFL. Only team worse than them is the Saints. But I think someone who can help this defense is Marvin Lewis. Yes, that Marvin Lewis. The Marvin Lewis for 15 years, 16 years was the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. The head coach that for every year they're like, please, for the love of God, fire him, Bengals fans. Sign, stamp, little hearts and kissy faces at the end. They wanted him gone. But there's a reason why Marvin Lewis stayed around from 2003 to 2018. He is a defensive-minded coach. He has been defense from the time he coached college in the 80s to the time he's coaching now in 2020. He is coaching defense. And you got to think, too, he's won a ring coaching defense. The Baltimore Ravens, from 96 to 2001, he was the defensive coordinator of the Ravens. He won a ring. He leaves the year before they draft Ed Reed, but he helps develop talent like Ray Lewis. That defense, that premier defense on Baltimore for those years, Marvin Lewis helped develop that. He's part of the big reason why the Ravens won a ring. The first season of Hard Knocks, the year they come off winning a Super Bowl, that's due to Marvin Lewis and that defense right there. A great, great defense. So he helps develop talent like Ray Lewis. That's something that Eagles fans have not had at all with Jim Schwartz. Tell me one player Jim Schwartz has developed. Not Sidney Jones, not Rasul Douglas, not Jalen Mills, not Nigel Bradham, not Michael Kendricks, not Derek Barnett, not Sharif Miller, not Josh Sweat, not anyone. He has not developed a single player. Marvin Lewis, Pac-Man Jones, Montez Burfict, Ray Lewis. To name a few. Not only is that, he has head coaching experience. So I think outside of being a defensive coordinator, he can be an assistant head coach. And yes, he has assistant head coach experience while being a defensive coordinator in the one season he spent in Washington when they were still called the Redacted. So we're not talking about that team. But I think the perfect transition to get him to be in the NFL, back in the NFL, from college where he learns to play the new offense, to play defense against that new offensive scheme, is to put him as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. The talent that is there for the Eagles to have a premier defensive coordinator, and Marvin Lewis is a premier defensive coordinator. And yes, I understand he's getting looked at to be a head coach from teams like Detroit, like New York, but I think with Doug Pederson in the market, it's going to really take away from Marvin Lewis, and teams are going to focus on Dougie P right now. I also think that, Marvin Lewis is the perfect guy that can also help Lincoln Riley grow as a head coach. The one thing Doug Pederson wants is full control, going full Chip Kelly on a team. That's why he wants to keep everything in-house. Will Parks, when he was cut, said this isn't 2017 anymore. You know what that means? He wasn't talking about himself not being 2017. He said, no, the Eagles culture is still in 2017, the year they won the Super Bowl. Doug Pederson wants everyone in-house. He doesn't want to bring in new minds. He doesn't want to have anyone else tell him what to do. He wants to have full control of the coordinators, the coaches, everything. But I think Marvin Lewis, Lincoln Riley, I guarantee Lincoln Riley is not going to tell Marvin Lewis what to do on defense. Marvin Lewis has been there. He's done that. And Lincoln Riley will know that. And he will trust Marvin Lewis to run that defense. And I think Marvin Lewis, with 16 years of head coaching experience with the Cincinnati Bengals, can help, show for Lincoln Riley to being a premier head coach in the league. He's saying, hey, this is how you should handle interviews. Hey, this is how you should do this. This is how you should do that. Just to help him help him get his footing. One of the biggest jumps from college to NFL is getting your footing. Not everyone's going to be like Chip Kelly, hit the ground running. Chip Kelly had an amazing first season. But guess what? Then he got all that power to his head, wanted everything in the house, went full Dougie P, tanked the team. Sure, Howie Roseman's tanking the team right now, but we're not talking about Howie Roseman. We're talking about coordinators and those guys right there. We're not worrying about other. We're not worrying about those guys and the front office. But also, here's a list of players. While as the head coach of Cincinnati, that Marvin Lewis has developed into head coaches of their own, just to show his ability to judge talent as sub coordinators. I have to read off paper because it's a lot of names. We have Leslie Frazier, Hugh Jackson, Mike Zimmer, Jay Gruden, and Vance Joseph. All had been named head coaches after being on the staff of Marvin Lewis. So Marvin Lewis can judge staff. He can bring in, get us a new secondary coach, get a new D-line coach, get a new linebackers coach. Actually come in here and do some good for the defense. We'll spend all this money on defense. Now let's get someone who is going to actually help the defense. You know what I mean? Like let's give the defense what the defense needs in a defensive head coach, a defensive coordinator of, a great defensive coordinator. Something that Jim Schwartz was lacking. And moving on from defense, we have offense. So going back to offense. And there's one man I want for this job. One man who should have been offensive coordinator last year, should have been offensive coordinator the year before. Deuce Staley. Deuce Staley has been with this team. He played his pro career with this team. He's been with this team for the past couple of seasons. He knows the offense. That's what you want. You want someone to know your offense. Philadelphia Eagles run RPOs. They run, play actions. Deuce Staley knows that. Doug Pederson wanted full control of the offense and play calling, and you saw what he did. He tried to do too much with too little. Let's have Carson Wentz do 5-step dropbacks. The offensive line can't protect you for 5-step dropbacks. It's not 2017 anymore, Doug. But guess what? Deuce Staley, being a man who knows how to take criticism, being a man who knows how to take insight from others, would know that. Would know, hey, we need to change up the offense. We need to run more play action. We need to run more RPOs. We need to do what Carson Wentz's strengths are. Not only is Deuce Staley part of the Eagles' culture and part of their system, the fans want Deuce Staley. When Mike Groh was named offensive coordinator, the fans said, why not Deuce? So Doug said, all right, we'll make him the run game coordinator. A co-offensive coordinator with Mike Groh. Mike Groh straight out said, I don't know how to get Golden Tate into our offense, and shrugged and left the conference. And Doug Pierce said, you know what? You told me you have no clue how to do your job. Guess what? Here's a promotion. Here's a raise. You're going to be offensive coordinator next season. And Jeffrey Lurie said, no, he's not. He straight up said he can't do his job. You're telling me a wide receiver coach who coached Alshon Jeffrey when he was with Chicago straight up says, yeah, I don't know how to make this guy work in our offense. Sorry. Sorry for you wasting a third-round draft pick on him. Now, Deuce Staley is not that kind of guy. Deuce Staley is the kind of guy who will come out here and he will make these players work in the system. He will find ways to have Jalen Reagor. He'll find ways to have Quez Watkins, John Hightower, and utilize them to the best of their abilities. If that means using Alshon Jeffrey, bubble screen blocking with help from Dallas Goedert, hopefully Zach Ertz still being there, and dumping to Reagor behind the line and having those two be lead blockers for a 20-yard run, that is the kind of offense I can see Deuce Staley running with this team. Not only do the fans want him, the players respect him. He is a player's guy. The players love him. The run game loves him. And guess what the Eagles didn't do last year? They did not run the ball. Deuce Staley, a former running back, guess what? We have a premier back. Miles Sanders right here. It's the jersey I'm rocking right now for this video. He is a premier back. He can be a top 5 back in the league. Doug didn't run the ball, though. He never ran the ball. So I think with Deuce Staley, we can run the ball more, actually play to our quarterback's strengths, and going on from there, I think this is a pretty good offensive, an offensive coordinator to have on a team, a very sought-after, very valuable coordinator to have. And I think, having Lincoln Riley, No, Marvin Lewis and Deuce Staley, it's a mix of old and new. You have a fan favorite. You have the fan's choice in Deuce Staley. You have a former head coach, a man who's been there, done that, and Marvin Lewis. And you have a nuanced age offense, a nuanced age coach in Lincoln Riley, something that Doug Pederson didn't bring. Sure, Doug Pederson was a first-time head coach, but guess what? He was an Andy Reid guy, and you see a lot of Andy Reid and Doug Pederson. He is a set-in-my-way kind of player. If it doesn't work, too bad. We're going to make it work. Lincoln Riley, not that kind of guy. Lincoln Riley will take this team from 4-11-1, right? That's what they end up, 4-11-1. Such a bad season. So bad. So bad. I hate this season. 4-11-1. I'm not saying they're going to win it all next year, but we will see improvement next year with this coaching staff. This will be an amazing coaching staff, and if the Eagles can find a way to bring all of this together, I guarantee you within 5 years, the Eagles are back competing for a Super Bowl. Mark my words on that one.